Hi there, my name is Spencer. Welcome to this channel. I am most delighted to have you here. Please do well to subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification icon so that when I post awesome videos like this, you'll be the first to be notified. We live in a world where people are connected in diverse different ways. Now, it's very important for us to build and maintain, a good relationship with the right people. One of the ways to do that is to become so interesting that everybody will be drawn to you. Everyone can benefit from increasing their level of being interesting and being even more interesting. We live in a chaotic and noisy world, and the more fascinating and interesting you are, the more likely you are to be heard above the chaos. Furthermore, being interesting can assist you in achieving almost any goal. Now, do you wish to make a good impression on your present circle of acquaintances? Then make yourself more interesting. Do you wish to make new friends? Become more interesting. Are you attempting to entice a love interest attention? Then make yourself even more interesting. Do you wish to meet a lot of interesting people at networking events and make valuable connections? Make yourself more appealing and interesting. Fortunately, there are myriads of things you can do to make yourself interesting. Here are ways to become so interesting that everybody will be drawn to you. Number 1, become an active person. Do you know that the lazier you are, the less interesting you'd be? People that are indolent and lazy are uninteresting and boring. Lazy folks go to work and perform the bare minimum, then return home and watch TV before falling asleep. They merely repeat the same behaviors the next day. Every day appears to be the same. Is it remotely possible that such an individual would have something interesting to say? No. Now, consider the following. When asked, "What are you up to?" a lazy person replies, "Not much." When asked, "What are you reading?" a lazy person replies, "I'm not much into books." When asked, "What's new?" a lazy person responds, "Same old, same old." But an active person, on the other hand, is always engaged in some activity. Perhaps they are participating in a fitness challenge, engaged in a book club, or joining their neighborhood watch. What's new? You can ask an active person, and they'll always have something to reply. So, my friend, get off the couch and do something interesting if you want to be more interesting. Here are some things I'm doing right now as an example. I'm working on an ebook about how to learn any skill quickly. Oh, thank goodness, it's progressing nicely. I think it's time to learn an entirely new skill, one that will push me beyond my comfort zone. I always make sure that when someone asks what I'm up to, I have so much to say because I'm doing a lot of things. So, be more active if you want to be more interesting. Number 2, happy people attract others. They are magnetic. Always make it a point to discussing health, happiness, and prosperity with everyone you encounter. Individuals, after all, want to be around people who make them feel good about themselves and the world. Don't be one of those folks who complain all the time. The last thing you want when you enter into a room is for people to think, "Oh no, here comes the doom and gloom." People who are happier are significantly more attractive and interesting than those who are depressed. Number 3, have a strong interest in something. Be passionate about something if you want to be more interesting. It could be anything really, including you can have a strong desire to save the earth, or the whales, or even the dolphins. Just find a worthy cause to which you can devote your time and energy. Be enthusiastic about your job, your profession, or business. Be enthusiastic about a social issue such as domestic violence, bullying, or mental health rights. I have a friend who is really enthusiastic about Winston Churchill and World War II. It is always very intriguing to listen to him speak about these topics. People who are interesting are passionate about something. People who are passionate about something are utterly interesting. Number 4, fill your brain with interesting things. If you want to be interesting, you have to fill your brain with interesting things. Think of it this way: whatever goes into your brain is what will eventually come out of your mouth. To be a good conversationalist, you should stuff yourself full of poems, essays, plays, stories, novels, films, magazines, music, and even more information. Become well read, watch classic film, go to museums, subscribe to interesting blogs and podcasts, and listen to great music. The more cultured you become, the more high quality input you stuff yourself with, and the more knowledge you acquire, the more interesting things you'll have to say. Number 5, let your weirdness speak for itself and shine through. Majority of people go to tremendous measures to modify themselves in order to fit in. They are terrified of saying or doing something that would be perceived as weird or out of the ordinary. You should embrace your oddness and weirdness if you want to be more interesting. Do you realize that the more unique and unusual you are, the more memorable you'd be? Now, always remember these. Don't pass judgment on people who are odd and weird. Stop being scared to let others see the real you, no matter how unusual it may be. Let yourself be quirky rather than generic. Break free from the confines of the box. Always share your unique perspectives and insights. Now, consider this. You're probably already doing things that other people find strange, and they are just not telling you about it. So instead of pretending to be as normal as possible, you should embrace your quirkiness. After all, being strange is a fantastic thing. It's yours, so own it. Number 6, be audacious, bold, and daring. Risk taking is one of the attributes that all interesting people have in common. That is, they are brave, they are audacious, and they are daring. They go somewhere and explore. They push themselves beyond their comfort zone. They are willing to try new things. They always have a good time while playing, and they're not scared to fail miserably at first. So, make yourself interesting by getting yourself to go out there and do interesting things. Number 7, be present. Be in the moment. Could you just imagine that you are at a cocktail party and you're chatting with someone who appears like they don't want to be there or would rather be talking to someone else? Is it possible that you would wish to chat with them again? Most likely not. While some of their focus is on you, the majority of their concentration and attention are elsewhere. That is to say, they aren't present, and no one wants to speak with someone who isn't present. But consider those folks who make others feel as if they are the only ones in the room and there is nowhere else they'd rather be. Those people come across as being incredibly likable and interesting. And they achieve this by being fully present, by giving others their undivided attention. Number 8, inquire about people's lives and pay attention to what they have to say. To be interesting, be interested. No matter how much you know, there is nothing more boring than someone who only speaks about themselves and shows no interest in the person with whom they are conversing. However, if you show interest in the other person, they will appreciate it. People, after all, enjoy talking about themselves. If the person you're talking to has more information on a topic than you do, you listen attentively and ask questions. It's a two-way street to be an interesting conversationalist. It's not just about being a good talker, it's also about being a good listener. Be truly interested in the person you're speaking with. Perform these following actions you may. Be curious by them. Be enthralled by them. Assume that everyone has something interesting to say at all times. Consider everyone as a potential teacher and every encounter as an opportunity to learn. You can begin by asking about people's hobbies, families, vacation trip plans, and so on. Then make certain to pay attention to what they have to say. Number 9, master the art of storytelling. Do you know that we are wired to think in story structures and that we prefer stories? Our thoughts are helped to focus by stories. In addition, stories incorporate facts and concepts into an emotional structure, making them more remembered. You'll be able to engage and hold your audience's attention if you learn how to tell good stories. Here are a few pointers on how to tell a compelling story. Set the scene with questions like who, what, when, why, and where. Remove the uninteresting material. Keep your story straightforward and concise. To highlight a point, you can embellish a little, but not too much. Make an attempt to develop a moral or message for your story. Also remember that being interesting has as much to do with how you say something as it does with what you have to say. So practice telling your stories until you're confident in your ability to do it in an interesting way. Keep the following tips in mind while you practice telling your stories. Make use of your facial expressions to help you communicate your message. Make gestures to highlight the message you're trying to make. Use a lively and expressive tone of speech. Develop your pantomime skills by acting out the story with your body. An acquaintance informed me the other day that she had walked in on her spouse talking to himself. He wasn't simply muttering under his breath though. He was speaking in a lively tone, laughing and moving his hands as if he were speaking to a crowd. "Isn't it strange?" she inquired. "No, that's not strange," I said. He's rehearsing his stories in preparation for when he has an audience. I do that as well. If you want to be interesting, practice your stories. Number 10, tailor your stories to the people you're telling them to. You'll need to get a sense of what topics people like to hear about. The tale you tell, as well as the parts of the story you stress, will be determined by your audience. For example, if you're telling your art-loving mother about your vacation to Paris, you should emphasize on the museums you saw. If you're chatting to pals, you might want to expand on the nightlife in Paris. And if you're chatting to your sister who's a foodie, you'll want to tell her about the restaurants you visited. Number 11, learn a couple of good jokes. We all enjoy laughing, and we enjoy being in the company of those who can make us laugh. So keep a few good jokes, hilarious quotations, witty entendres, or funny sayings on hand at all times. Don't undersell or oversell your jokes, and make sure your timing and rhythm are on point. Generally speaking, people will believe you to be interesting if you do the following throughout a conversation. You make them feel heard and seen. You make them feel interesting. You get them to think. You teach them a new concept or even a new idea. You make them laugh out loud. You motivate them to change their lives by setting an example for them. Because you are associated with them, you make them feel better than themselves. It's more important to be the most interesting person in the room than it is to be the prettiest. Make your life more interesting by becoming even more interesting. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.